All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Allie Ryan Hansen. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Communications Director for the Oregon Department of State Lands and your moderator for this evening's information session. It's exciting to see you all tonight to learn more about DSL's budget proposal. I'm going to begin by quickly reviewing our agenda and then introducing the team who will be presenting. First, Director Vicki Walker, who has left her chair, but certainly is still in the building. She's going to officially welcome you and talk a bit about the department's work and our strategic goals. And then DSL Deputy Director Jean Straight is going to walk you through the budget process and the department's policy option package proposals for fiscal year 25-27. We'll then spend the rest of our time together tonight hearing your questions, hearing your thoughts. I will ask you to hold questions until after the presentation, but you can put them in chat anytime or raise your hand anytime, and I'll either call on you or have read your question aloud when it's discussion time. One bit of housekeeping, please do keep your mics muted until it's your turn so we can avoid background noise. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Walker to begin sharing our presentation.
Okay, all right, 5:35, somewhere around in there, on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Nice to see you all, virtually anyway. So thanks for spending time with us. I appreciate your interest in the department's work for Oregon and the priorities that we're considering asking the legislature for support for in 2025, which is just around the corner. I'm extremely proud to be the department's director. We're a small agency that does well. We make big contributions to Oregon, and we manage the lands dedicated to the Common School Fund. We oversee the publicly owned waterways that you all enjoy, whether it's fishing, hunting, recreation, whatever it is you do on the waterways. We protect the wetlands, contribute to science and learning with South Slough Reserve, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. And soon we'll be celebrating with the Elliott State Research Forest. So our next slide talks about the challenges we have and the POPs, our policy option packages, for those of you who don't know what that is. So we have 14 packages, as you see. The budget proposals that we're going to present tonight acknowledge and seek to address significant challenges. We have many, and opportunities, and there are many as well. The biggest one is adding staff so that we can make good on our many responsibilities. Inadequate staffing is affecting the service that we provide and the health of our team members who just do not have the capacity or support needed to provide those essential services that we all strive for. Work-life balance is something we talk about, but it's something that much of our staff cannot experience. The policy option packages, or the POPs, we're presenting address that. These POPs also focus on restoring our contributions to healthy, resilient lands and waterways. The department of about 120 people oversees more natural and working lands than any other state agency. Essential resources are particularly needed for programs that protect wetlands and waters, the South Slough Reserve, and for technology essential to all aspects of our management and stewardship. And finally, these packages help equip our communities to meet their changing needs. The research and the data, technical assistance, and the practical resources that we provide support communities in planning for current and future challenges and needs, meaning especially their housing needs. So we'll move on to our strategic goals in slide 3. Each policy option package that we have tonight match the department's 4 strategic goals: exceptional service, thriving Oregon, a great workplace, and supporting schools. All of these packages are anticipated to contribute significantly to achieving the measurable objectives identified for each of these goals. And we spent a lot of time at the department drafting these goals, and they're measurable, and we're tracking them, and we're doing very well. I'd like to turn it over to Jean Straight. She's the Deputy Director of Administration here at DSL, and she's going to go over the development process for our budget and walk through all of our policy option packages for each strategic goal area, because Jean is the rock star when it comes to budgeting. So Jean, I'm going to turn it over to you and turn off my video while you shine. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Walker, and welcome everyone. I appreciate you being here tonight to learn more about the policy option packages the department has drafted. A quick clarification on funding sources and POP numbers. Most of DSL's funding is other funds generated by the agency's program activities and common school fund investment returns. When the funding source noted is federal fund, that indicates grants or other resources from federal agencies are funding the proposed packages. The POP numbers generally indicate the relative package priority, but with the understanding that when DSL proposes POPs, all are essential to our work for Oregon. I also want to mention the amounts listed are still estimates, and we're still working on those, and they'll be trued up during the next month of our budget development process. So moving into slide 4, exceptional services and great workplace. First, 5 packages that contribute to our strategic goals for exceptional service and great workplace. These POPs add essential positions and resources to support the department's mission and all strategic goals, but are particularly foundational to exceptional service and great workplace goals. The Wetlands and Waterways Staffing Package addresses the impacts of inadequate staffing on programs that protect wetlands and waterways. This POP includes adding 11 new positions and making 4 existing limited duration positions into permanent positions. We are requesting an estimated $3.2 million of other funds for this POP. Next are packages that address the impact of inadequate staffing and funding on South Slough reserves as an essential resource for science, learning, and exploration. We're requesting approximately $540,000 for this POP, which includes adding 2 positions and reclassing an existing management position. Next, the other South Slough POP is a placeholder. The reserve is experiencing rising costs this biennium, and we're exploring whether a policy option package is necessary to right-size the base budget. We may also request a higher inflation rate, but more likely we will be submitting this POP, and that's about $390,000. Next is the POPs. This POP supports the use of GIS technology that's essential to all department services and responsibilities. Current resources do not adequately support the many programs and services that depends on GIS. This package requests approximately $1 million of other funds, and it includes 4 new positions. Next, finally, in this under these strategic goals, POP for our modern permitting and information systems project. The existing department database that supports management of schools, school lands, wetlands, and waterway permits and authorizations and associated revenues was developed in the late 90s and cannot be updated. This project greatly enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of our services by developing a modern database and new online application and information portal that is easy for Oregonians to use. This package supports the completion and launch of the system and ongoing maintenance. So this project has been going on for 2 biennia already, and this will be the final phase of that project, and that we are requesting 3.5 million other funds. Moving on to supporting school packages. We have 4 supporting school packages. These POPs are proposed to increase revenue to the Common School Fund with an emphasis securing alternative funding for projects that advance strategic goals. First, a package for the State Abandoned and Derelict Vessel Program. This POP addresses the impact of hazardous vessels on Oregon's publicly owned waterways and the Common School Fund, which historically funded vessel removals. A companion legislative concept proposes an ongoing funding mechanism for this program, which is now supported by the state's distinct ADV fund. This package funds program operations, including vessel removals, and makes permanent 3 limited duration positions and adds a permanent risk evaluation position. This request is 11.1 million of other funds. The department is also proposing 3 POPs that carry forward unspent federal grant funds to support completion of removal fill program projects, South Slough Wasson Creek, watershed restoration plan, and capital improvement projects at the South Slough. We are also proposing 5 Thriving Oregon packages to ensure DSL managed lands and waterways contribute to healthy and resilient communities with an emphasis on meeting needs via research, planning, and collaboration. We have 2 POPs for the Elliott State Research Forest, which will be established in 2024 as the nation's largest research forest under the oversight of the State Land Board Department and an appointed ESRF Board of Directors. POP 101 supports the management and operations of the research forest and includes 7 permanent positions. This request is approximately 10.2 million of general fund. The other Elliott-related package is POP 102, the former site of Shutter Creek Correctional Institute in North Bend, has been secured as potential headquarters for the research forest through the Federal Public Benefits Conveyance Program. And this package supports ongoing site maintenance and initial redevelopment work and continues 2 limited duration positions. So this says it's general fund. It actually is not general fund. We received a grant from HUD, and it will be coming into the agency as other funds, but it is federal funding through HUD. So the next one is the Lower Willamette River Management Plan. It guides stewardship of the river in Portland from Kelly Point Park to just above the Selwood Bridge. The plan was adopted in 1992 and needs to be updated to reflect available science, existing and future conditions, community priorities for use and development, and to integrate a climate resilience consideration and goals. We are requesting 500,000 of other funds for this program option package. And finally, 2 packages for the Portland Harbor Superfund site. Wow, fight. Isn't that might be a little Freudian slip there. Superfund site. Package 303 supports direct cleanup work for the Portland Harbor Superfund site by continuing administrative expenditures, including professional and legal services. And request is about $1.1 million of other funds. Package 404 provides the legal and environmental expertise necessary to defend the state's interest in the Portland Harbor Superfund site. And this package includes Department of Justice costs, environmental consulting costs, and making permanent 1 limited duration natural resource specialist positions. This request is about 5.2 million of other funds. And that completes our policy package overview. We're going to open it up for questions in just a minute, but I do want to briefly look at the budget development timeline for all of you. So I know many of you have an excellent working understanding of the budget development timeline. It's a long timeline, and we're in the initial stages. Many of Oregon's agencies are having similar budget sharing meetings right now, as all agencies are preparing to submit agency request budgets to the governor's office at the end of the summer. Before we do that, we'll take our proposal to our governing body, the State Land Board, in June. The State Land Board is Oregon's governor, treasurer, and secretary of state. Those budgets will then go to Governor Kotek's office for consideration. In December, the governor will release her recommended budget. And during the 5-month legislative session that begins in early 2025, your representatives and senators will consider all of the budget requests from state agencies via the governor, as well as other requests from Oregonians to determine the final state budget for 2025-27. So thank you again for joining us on this conversation to learn about and help us strengthen the Department of State Land's budget proposal. I'll turn it back to Allie so she can open it up for questions.
Oops. Thank you, Jean and Vicky. I also do want to acknowledge that we have other members of our DSL team with us this evening, and just want to note who those folks are. Bill Ryan is our Deputy Director for Operations. He's here this evening. Chris Castelli, our Government and Community Relations Manager, is here, as is Dana Hicks, our Planning and Policy Manager, Joseph Flager, who is our Budget Manager, and Jimmy Phillips, who is our Human Resources Director, is here. And I think I got all of our team that's here. So everybody's here. They may jump in to answer questions as needed. And with that, it is time for questions and discussion. So hi, Peggy. I'm not sure if you're saying hello or if you were raising your hand, but either way, it is time for excellent. It is time for raising hands or putting questions in the chat. You can do either one. A hand raise is under reactions at the bottom of the screen, and the chat bubble is also there. We'll take questions either way. I'm going to go with whoever's first and bot back and forth between folks to answer questions. I have a good feeling about attendees here tonight. So I just want to note that it's my job to make sure our time together is well spent, and that we can hear from as many of you as we can. So if you ask more than one question, I may go to somebody else's question first. And if you have extensive feedback, I may ask you to wrap up after a few minutes and come back to you. And just as always, encourage us all to be respectful to each other and to DSL staff, so that we can hear everyone and have a good conversation tonight. With that, I will go to Peggy Lynch. Peggy, please go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself and tell us what you came to tell us.
Good evening, Peggy Lynch, League of Women Voters of Oregon. I always care about DSL's budget. There are lots of things that I have questions about. I would note that you had lots of other funds. I have to assume that most of those other funds are common school fund monies. And it would be helpful if, not tonight, but at a point when you're going to send out this information to all of us so that we can actually have it, that we knew what other funds there were. The one that I thought was interesting that you talked about was the abandoned vessels. And so the LC is going to have some other funds rather than common school funds. And I'll be quiet and let other people ask.
Well, I can answer it about the ADV. So that is continuing to expend the money that we received this biennium. We received $18+ million. And so we're not going to expend that all. And so that funding source is the funding source for continuing that. And then the legislation that they're proposing is for fees and other things that will help continue to support that program. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you, Jean. Okay, I am looking in the chat to see if we've got anybody joining in over there, and we don't. So if anyone has questions, has thoughts, now is the time to share them.
So
Um,
I was letting others do it, and I'll be happy to be quiet as long as anybody else has something to say. But if not, I'm going
so
to take the opportunity.
Peggy is going to
Lynch,
take the opportunity. We would expect nothing less of her. If anybody else has a thought or a question, please do raise your hand and I will ever so politely interrupt Peggy and come to you. But Peggy,
absolutely. No, absolutely. Please, other people, please ask questions. So I'm very interested about the new positions for wetlands and waterways, and how that will help address both the issues that the governor is interested in around housing, while also protecting those wetlands and waterways. Any answers about how what those staff are going to do, and how the
I
program is
think
going to change?
Bill is poised to
Mhm.
answer that question, Peggy.
I'm unmuted and everything. So Peggy, as you're probably aware, the aquatic resource management program staff is stretched really thin, and so we've got a really a small management team, and so one of the positions there is actually a third management position to spread out that burden of the administrative management of the many staff in that program. We've also added a specialist position to as sort of a pilot to see if that's a sort of a higher skilled person to deal with more controversial, more challenging projects. We have this challenge with our structure where we have a set fee, and for really large complex projects which can take one or two staff persons full time work for months or even longer, the fees don't recover those. So having some specialized positions to help with the workload piece of that as well. And then we've also are adding an additional special, or not a special, but additional permit processor, additional waterways manager, and an additional jurisdictional determiner. So person who does wetland delineation reviews. And so it's really to be able to speed up our customer service and our ability to dive in deep where we need to, and provide good customer service. So it's just additional capacity will help. And we do have a rulemaking that's going to be starting in the next couple months, looking at fees for the removal fill program as a result of House Bill 2238. And so we'll be looking at some higher fees to help offset the cost of those programs and reduce the dependence on the Common School Fund.
Thank you, and it's good to hear that you're doing that. I wondered where that was going. So other agencies have been limited in their general fund requests. I noticed that you're asking for 10 million for the Elliott. Obviously, I am supportive of trying to move the Elliott to its new state in the state. But you have not received a message from DAS saying that you can't ask for more than more general fund than 1% of your budget, your general fund budget.
Well, we don't have a general fund budget. So, it's a strategic decision because we don't think that it should be coming from the Common School Fund. The legislature, the governor can always say that that's not what the funding should be, but we have to start with what we believe is the right ask initially. So, am I hopeful? No.
Yeah, well, as you know, Peggy, we got a little over 4 million that was dedicated to the authority, and the authority didn't happen, so it came back to DSL. So we're moving forward. We've got an operations plan that we're busy putting together. Our draft forest management plan should be out next week. And so we're just moving forward. The forest eventually will pay for itself, but it needs money to start doing that before we can start cutting trees to sustain the operation. And the cutting of the trees is limited to 17 to 20 million board feet over a 3-year rolling average. And as you know, because you attend a lot of our meetings, and we think that will be fine. It should work. But we need more money to get us going.
So I'm going to go on a roll until somebody cuts me off.
Yeah, well, I'll also tell you that I'm going to Washington, D.C. with Brett Brownscombe, our Elliott transition director, we're leaving on Monday and we're on the hunt for money. So that's why we're making the trip.
Good luck. May there be a pot of gold at the end of your rainbow.
I hope so.
So I want to go on to the Lower Willamette River Plan. I noticed that you're asking for 500K, but no staff. So I'm assuming that you feel like you can cover the work for redoing the plan without having an additional staff person.
Yeah, I'll field that one as well. Yes, the idea is that we'd actually hire a consulting firm to manage that process for us, and then our staff would be in an oversight role for that work.
And Director, while you're in Washington, D.C., how about looking for some money, more money for the South Slough so that you don't have to go to other funds except federal funds for that?
Well,
So
they actually, I'll tell you, they just got a big, huge grant to redo the entrance. So
yes.
NOAA came through with that yesterday. And I'm going down to the South Slough this weekend for the first of a couple of 50th anniversary celebrations they're doing. This one will be highlighting the Wasson Creek project. So they're getting a lot out of NOAA, which is wonderful. But yes, I'm going to look for money for South Slough, for the Elliott, and for ADVs. That's all on my agenda.
Make sure that the federal government keeps their ADVs themselves and don't donate them to other people. That would be another help.
Exactly. That's one of my visits.
Okay, last thing, and then I'll be quiet. And that's that I'm going back to wetlands. The new IT and database and whatever, I assume that is also supporting that effort. The GIS, I'm not sure, is that also connected? So that the information that local governments need in order to know how to regulate their wetlands, I'm looking to see it as a whole package and not just staff people, but the data that they need. So is that part of that?
Yes, Peggy, that's definitely the case. I mean, we are currently trying to increase the population of data in the state wetland inventory using EPA grants and doing it sort of a county or two at a time. But with the addition of some additional GIS capacity and also some of the technical staff that we're asking for as well, we should be able to populate the state wetland inventory more accurately. Basically, putting in delineations that historic or past delineations and then new delineations as they come in, entering those in the GIS format, as well as updating local wetland inventories. We've got a bit of a backlog of local wetland inventory work that we're doing, and with the governor's housing initiative, anticipating some more of that kind of work and review that needs to happen in the future.
Thank you very much, everybody, and I hope that these questions also might help others as they listen to this recording.
Thank you, Peggy.
Thanks, Peggy. Okay, I think I'm going to do a last call for questions and thoughts from anyone else who might like to speak. Going once, going twice. Okay, so with that, I'm going to give the floor back to Director Walker for some closing thoughts, but I do want to underline something that Jean mentioned earlier. We are very early in this process. So hearing questions, hearing thoughts now really helps us shape and refine what's being proposed. But this by no means will be the last opportunity for folks to share their perspectives on our budget. There's a lot of ground and a lot of opportunities still ahead. So do make sure that you are signed up. Sorry, I'm wearing a lot of hats tonight and I was admitting someone, lost my train of thought. So that is all goes to say, please do make sure you're signed up for DSL email updates. It's on our website under Get Involved. I will put that link in the chat right now. I'm also going to drop into the chat Chris Castelli, who is our government, no problem, Casey, I'm easily distracted. Chris Castelli, who's our government and community relations manager. I'm going to drop his contact information into the chat as well. He's going to be shepherding this through the legislature with the help of our fabulous government and community relations team, and then I'm going to drop Jean's contact in there as well, because as Vicki mentioned, she is our budget guru. And now I'm going to go back to Director Walker for a few final thoughts.
Okay, well, the dog has been kept at bay until just now. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm sorry, more Oregonians weren't able to join us tonight. Everyone's busy, but we're happy to share our budget information with anyone who would like to know what's going on here at the department. I always appreciate the conversation from you, Peggy. You're one of our biggest supporters, and also someone who points out things that you'd like to see answers to. So I appreciate that. Allie shared, as she said, the contact information in the chat. So if you have questions, you can contact Jean or Chris directly, or learn more about DSL's work and service we provide to Oregonians. We're first and foremost a public agency of Oregon. We are actually the oldest public agency in Oregon. And we work for you, and we take pride in protecting our natural resources, as well as the state's Common School Fund that provides education funding to our kids, and to ensure a thriving Oregon and strong contributions to our public schools. I'm president of the National Association of State Trust Lands this year. My term is coming to an end in July. And it's been wonderful because I've been able to work with all of the other states, member states that have school funds, and they're all a little bit different. Some actually fund community colleges and universities, and others limited to public education, but there are differences, and it's really interesting, and we learn from one another, and I continue to learn and bring it back home to Oregon. So I want to thank you again for joining us tonight. Dinner's waiting for all of you who haven't yet had it. So thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Good night.